Sudáfrica, el extremo más meridional del continente africano, territorio cruzado por el trópico de Capricornio, el país del arco iris, de las 11 lenguas, de las tribus que se remontan millones de años atrás, la región donde se juntan los mares, donde conviven las montañas con los bosques, el desierto, la sabana, el hábitat del búfalo, el rinoceronte, el hipopótamo, el elefante, el león. Sudáfrica es la tierra de los 1000 paisajes, de las 11 lenguas, con una cultura asombrosa y una historia inquietante. Aquí, al este del país, bañada por el Océano Índico, se encuentra la región KwaZulu-Natal, una de las 9 provincias que conforman la República de Sudáfrica. Es en este sitio donde Dan y Christine Olofsson, filántropos suecos con fuertes lazos hacia la comunidad sudafricana, concibieron un proyecto para crear conciencia en niños y jóvenes sobre la salud y el futuro. Todo comenzó en 2005, cuando Sudáfrica se había convertido en el epicentro de la crisis del virus VIH. En ese entonces, advirtieron que la gente a su alrededor comenzaba a morir, a veces sin conocer la verdadera causa, o bien ocultando ser portadores de la enfermedad. Consternados ante este panorama, decidieron hacerle frente. Así nació la iniciativa Star for Life, Estrella para la Vida.
In February 2005, we gathered a team, I don't know, we were 12, 13 people. And it was South African. We got to know a deputy principal on a neighboring school. And it was Swedes. So we gathered then on a brainstorming week in February 2005. And we were out in the school and so on. Yeah, our thinking was like this, that the government was on its way with the retrovirus drugs. But the key thing is that the young generation shouldn't get HIV so much. And where are the young children? Out of schools. So we get to know the school. So our basic idea was to run a program in the schools. So during that week, we actually came up with the basic idea of Star for Life. And that is that every young child has dreams about their own life. And it could be different dreams. Jobs, family, sports, and that generates a positive energy. And we want them to be stars in their own life, to fulfill their own dreams. We started that they got that dream book. So, but they write every day about their own dreams. And that generates a thinking. They want to reach that goal. And if you're going to reach that goal, you need to do some sacrifices, and you need to see what you have to do. So we start with the dream book, and then in the second workshop we say that if you want to fulfill your dreams, you need to be age-free. And there are many different ways to become age-free. But to put it simple, you shouldn't have very many partners with unprotected sex, because then the risk is very high. So you need to protect yourself and so on. So that was actually the start 2005. And then we put together a team of 10 people who worked for 3 months to create a program in the schools. But in order to change behavior, which is very difficult, you need to work long term. And then we, in July, started a pilot project in that school. It works from July until December. We came in December. Everybody was so happy. It was the best thing they ever seen. Parents, teachers, learners. So Christine and I thought that this is going to be our project. We're going to run it in 40 schools. So that was the big idea. And then we started building up an organization, started fundraising. And since that, it has just been growing. So today we have 120 schools in South Africa and Namibia. So 450,000 learners has gone through the program, and each of them connects with their family members at home, which is a lot of people. So this has been a very important project for us over the years.
I've seen many changes, and it has reached our life as well. And we are so happy and proud of everyone who works with Stuff for Life, the coaches, the musicians, the teacher, everyone who works with this program. I'm very proud of them.
The most issues, problems that the young people are facing with is the abuse, domestic violence, it's rape, yes, and negligence, which is a lack of parenting. So there is that huge gap, and it makes it hard for the young people to go for their dreams or to study well or to be as a normal human being. So it affects them mentally big time.
I mean, we could come into school, let's say 1,000 children, 500 girls, and 40, 50 of them could be pregnant. And when the girls here get pregnant, they leave the school, sit home in the village, get maybe $30, $40 per month, take care of the kid, don't get any education. The boys doesn't take any responsibility, which is sad. So when we follow up on the school, we could see a number of things. One is that the teenage pregnancy go down.
The girl is very important to teach them that they are allowed to say no to sex, and they are allowed to have their own dreams, not only to have babies and like that and follow the man. And if they are a group in a school, everyone has the same education about this. They can strengthen each other. So that's important for the girl, but it's important to teach the boys as well how to behave to the girls.
We want to generate so they see a future for themselves, hope, good motivation.
Then maybe they have so bad home conditions, so they don't see a future. They don't think they are allowed to have dreams for the future because they have so much to do with the home and with everything, daily things. And maybe they have a long way to school. They have to walk along for 1 hour, 2 hours to school. Maybe not any food in the morning, and they are very tired when they come to school.
My role, I'm a coach, so I come with a psychosocial support and play therapy, where we dance jablani and share stories with the kids. And in that way, they are able to open up as well. I was a student in Stuff for Life schools. Back then, it was 2006. So it influenced me. It influenced me in many ways, and here I am today. I'm the role model to the young ones.
And it's actually the individual stories that gives you inspiration and gives you energy to continue. Because if you can save one people's life, I think you have done tremendous things. Because for that person, it's such a big difference.
Oh, there are so many children that we have seen from the beginning, 11, 12 years, and now they are doctors and teachers and musicians and like that, and we're very happy.
Stuff for Life is giving the people, is giving the community. They teach us many things, parenting. They teach us how to be a responsible people. So it changes us into good people, into a positive human being. So it has a huge impact in success, in how do we treat ourselves, how do we behave, and to be responsible, basically.
We have sessions where our coach is having a one-on-one session with our kids. Let's say we are having those kids who are having some problem, maybe some social problems, bullying or whatever problems. Secondly, with social ills. Sometimes most of our kids, they do have some problems at their home. If you can look at our community here, most of the parents, they are not working. They only depend on social grants. So now they can't afford to buy school uniforms. Staff for Life just donated us even school uniform.
That we work very well together with the local government. So the Department of Schools, they tell to us, we would like you to do the program in this and this and this school. Fine. And here in South Africa, they have a special courses or themes called life skill development. And we fit in very well there because we learn them life skill to take care of their health and so on. So we are a normal part in the ordinary schoolworks, and that's important. Not some outside NGO who does something outside the school. We're inside the school, working together, educate the teachers, having counseling there, so on.
Since the music and dance and the culture is very strong in this culture, the Zulu and the African culture, we are using the music as a tool to reach out to the kids, and we're using elements and lyrics in the songs that we write that describes the theme and the pillars of the Star for Life program. So instead of speaking this, we're using them so they can use them as almost like mantras when they get into a situation they need some extra energy, like when they walk to school, they can walk and sing, AIDS free, that's me, AIDS free, things like that. So they can use it in the daily basis. So it's a lot of power and energy in the music that we try to reach.
Music is mantra. It your feelings, it talks to your feelings and it involves the whole of you. So if we put the pillars of the Star for Life program into music, you can more easily remember, what's going on in the program.
Music is a positive, happy way to learn life. And it's especially here, the music is a very big part of their life. So I think we need to have music, more music.
Con 20 escuelas en Sudáfrica y Namibia, y un total de 450,000 participantes, entre alumnos y miembros de la comunidad. El reto que enfrentan los creadores de Star for Life, además de concientizar a la población sobre el problema del VIH-Sida, es provocar un cambio de mentalidad en niños y jóvenes. Motivarlos a creer en ese futuro que imaginan y anhelan y que, sin embargo, en su realidad, es quizá un sueño inalcanzable. Hablamos de un país que vivió, desde siglos atrás, bajo el dominio de colonizadores, un pueblo desgarrado por la injusticia, la pobreza y el racismo. Devolverle la esperanza es una de las más importantes tareas de este proyecto.
We want to focus on this program and educate the minds of the. We actually invest in the young people. That's what we are in their mind, but for their own future, and not for some political or religious system that we want to introduce them, because they are stars in their own life, and we want them to be stars. But if they're going to be stars, they need to understand that they need to live a healthy life. So drugs comes in, alcohol, and protects themselves if they have sex. When we started for 15 years ago, you know, AIDS was scary. If you had AIDS, you thought it was death. So people didn't want to know. So, and when you have HIV, you don't feel anything. It's when it's transformed over to AIDS, you might die in 2 years' time or something. So a lot of people doesn't want to go test themselves. Because if you go and test yourself and you're HIV positive, with drugs today, it's not a death penalty. You could live a life with HIV today. So go and test yourself is an important part of our program.
En su visita a la primaria Safari, en KwaZulu Natal, una de las escuelas donde se lleva a cabo el programa Start for Life, Gunilla Carlson, quien fuera secretaria del programa ONU-SIDA de la Organización de las Naciones Unidas, plantea que 15 años después de la crisis de 2005, las cifras han cambiado, aunque no como se esperaba. Para 2018, había 7.700.000 personas con VIH en Sudáfrica. Entre estos, 4.700.000 eran mujeres y 260.000 niños. Mientras que la cifra de huérfanos a causa de SIDA solo en ese año fue de 1.200.000. Hoy, la muerte por enfermos de SIDA en Sudáfrica sigue siendo una realidad.
Just back 15 years, the world was really in a crisis. You could argue we are there today, right? But when it came to HIV/AIDS, people were literally dying at the doorsteps to have access to health care and understanding about what was happening. At that time, people couldn't find treatment, but it was due to global solidarity, but also local capacity. HIV, despite good treatment programs, with less risks of transmitting the virus, we still see that about 770,000 people died of AIDS-related death in 2018. And the most scary thing, I think, is that it was 100,000 kids. You know, so AIDS is not over. In KwaZulu-Natal, here is the real problems. Here you have HIV prevalence up to 41%.
Even though we cannot disclose how many kids that are being infected here by the school, but we do have, since last year, we had the kids, they were taking their medication, but we do have those learners who are affected with HIV and AIDS. And also they are under program, which is for counseling, whatever, just to help them emotionally. It's just a whole school program when you come just to teach them and precautions, how to take care of themselves, and also what is HIV and what is AIDS, just so that they will know that they must take for their bodies, they must take for themselves, so that they will not be affected or infected with HIV and AIDS.
We have the mobile clinics going around to the school, and they take tests, and they talk about it to them. And I think that's a difference from when we come here, started, and to today. I think people know much more about HIV and AIDS, so they know what to do. Before they didn't, and maybe they died with another thing, but it was AIDS. And they didn't tell. They didn't want to see it.
And what to do about it? Well, it is really to have partnerships and work together. You have to transform societies from within, and you have to equip individuals and people with skills, but also to give them the space to meet. They can start to talk about this, but equally having the access to help and clinics. And younger kids in general have their sex debut, but also unfortunately drug abuse and other things. And the level of violence in a society is really something that needs to be watched.
After we have this program with the Staff for Life, there are some results, good results. I can say that because let me start here. There are some kids that were dropping by the school, but we didn't know what was the cause, the root cause of that. And we reported that to our coach. He personally went to those homes just to identify what is the root cause. They said, we don't have food at home, so that's why we are dropping at school. So we just try and have that project just to assist them even after hours so that they will just be motivated. Because others, they are living at their home with no parents. They are living with themselves. They are child-headed families because of this HIV and AIDS.
Big problem in South Africa, and that's unemployment, especially for the young people. And they need to change the system because the young generation is the future. They need to have education, but they also need to have jobs. That's a big challenge.
Close your eyes. Let the limit be the sky.
A veces, el amor puede ser inocente.
Creo que soy malo porque hago cosas malas.
Otras, te ayudará a descubrirte y a perder el miedo de ser tú mismo.
Y no sé si te das cuenta, pero cuando estamos con los amigos te comportas demasiado afeminado. Llevo 10 años con él. ¿Y cuántos han valido la pena? He conocido a alguien. Quería contártelo, pero no sabía cómo.
Zona D presenta 4 lunas, sábado 23 horas.
Yo también me estoy enamorando de ti. Por nosotros.
¿Sientes que el gobierno federal está haciendo malas cosas? Empresas cerrando, violencia aumentando, el COVID crece sin parar. En cambio, los municipios panistas del Estado de México han equipado a médicos y paramédicos para afrontar la contingencia. Informan mediante perifoneo oportunamente de las fases del COVID. Protegen a la población más vulnerable mediante la entrega de apoyos alimentarios. Acción Nacional hace bien las cosas y gobierna para todas y todos. PAN, unidos y fuertes para defender al Estado de México.
Reconocido como consejero de Iván el Terrible, inculpado de asesinato y considerado tan astuto como polémico.
Не убивал я твою сына Марфа, не убивал! Богом клянусь, не убивал! И сейчас помощи я тебя прошу не ради себя. Если вор не остановить, великое бедствие на всю страну ляжет, голод шуткой покажется. Помоги!
Godunov, una serie basada en la obra de Alexander Pushkin. Episodios de estreno, domingos 21 horas, por Canal 22. La cultura se ve en todas partes.
Son los árboles, las acacias, las caobas, el chacal, las candelabras o el suntuoso árbol de la fiebre, lo que nos abre la mirada a un nuevo paisaje. Cada cierto tiempo aparece, solitario, un árbol de copa ancha y ramificada, diría el periodista Ryszard Kapuczynski. Al divisarlo, podemos dirigirnos hacia él, sabiendo que ahí encontraremos gente, un poco de agua e incluso algo de comer. Esas personas han salvado el árbol porque sin él no podrían vivir. Bajo el sol africano, para existir, el hombre necesita sombra y el árbol es su único depositario y administrador. El árbol como centro de la vida colectiva. En el territorio Zulu, en un extenso terreno en el pueblo de Shulshuwe, el artista sueco Johan Falkman ha instalado un taller para producir su obra, invitando a jóvenes de la comunidad a participar en una propuesta artística multimedia que se suma al proyecto Star for Life.
Here in South Africa, in KwaZulu-Natal, and this is where it all started in 2016. I came down for the first time. I was invited by Dan and Christine Olofsson, and they have been working very hard to fight several problems here in this country because of their love for South Africa and its people. One is the most alarming, of course, and that is the spread of HIV. Before it used to always lead to AIDS, of course, but doesn't so much anymore because of medication. And so they started this project called Star for Life, through which they were trying to help school kids primarily, not only to fight the virus, but to build character, strength, self-reliance, self-confidence, all those things that are very necessary if you want to protect yourself, if you want to care, if you want somebody to care for him or herself, that person must also respect him or herself. And so to infuse self-esteem into people and to give them a sense of pride and dignity and belief in themselves. Dan and Christine, they've had several ideas and projects on the side. And one of them was to bring down artists to South Africa. We came down here the first time in 2016 together with, I believe we were 25 artists from all over the world, from Mexico, from America, from Sweden. And we spent a week here together.
We have many people contributing in different ways. I mean, financial support is one thing. Support with network, you could support in so many things. He is an excellent artist, fantastic artist work. So when he saw this important project, he felt that he wanted to do something for Star for Life. So we created this project together where he can be here. He produced a lot of excellent artist work. And we're going to present it in Mexico and other countries. And then at the end, we will sell this fantastic artist work. And all the surplus, which we hope will be substantial, will go back to Star for Life.
And I came down a week before the others in order to prepare. And during that time, I had brought my Bible with me. And I got so extremely inspired by the South African landscape, the South African people, the mentality down here. There's something, I cannot put words on it, but there's a special feeling down here, especially when you're in this rural area of the small villages and all the people. And so there was something that inspired me, and since I had this week all to myself, I asked the chef, Noni at that time, to be a model in my painting. She played Maria. And then I had the bartender, Toddy, he played Jesus. And I did a Pieta. That was my first painting that I did in South Africa, where Jesus was lying in the lap of his mother. And then I had the anti-poaching team playing as guards, and the cleaning woman, she was playing Mary Magdalene, etc. And I did the painting in around 4 days. And then I decided that once this project with all the artists is completed, I will return to South Africa to do my own project. And that became this that I'm working on right now, 4 years later. Paintings, sculptures, inspired by Gustave Doré's illustrated Bible from 1875. And I got models from the communities, all the villages around, that surrounds us, 3 or 4 villages. And with the guys and girls and women and men from those villages, I started to to build a pattern of stories that inspire me. And now we've been working for almost a year on this. Tari, okay? Sure? The head? Okay, Incansable, can you fall? Pilano, can you fall? Okay. Very good. And Sabella, you come with the sword. Let me see. Okay, very good. Can I see? Okay. Into body, you just look straight in there. Okay. Very good. Are you okay? Internacional, it's okay. Lama, can you stand a little bit longer? Carnesi, you want to come up for a little break so you don't get too much blood in your head? Great. I have a very close relationship to the people that I work with, specifically as models. We've done several excursions out to the villages to scout for models and to have people meet in the community houses or the schools. So in that aspect, yes, it's very close to the communities because we specifically we've decided to work with the villages surrounding this area where we are. One of the first things that you do meet when you come down to South Africa is the Zulu Dancers, and that is I'm not 100% sure, but there isn't a tradition of mask making, for example, in the Zulu tradition. They were warriors, so they have been. I guess moving around, invading other tribes or making wars. They didn't have so much time to engage in art. There you have a good example of they were warriors, you know. But one thing that they did have, or that they do have, is the dancing, the Zulu dance, and that is also, I guess, that comes from war. Those dances are very inspired by the movements of war. I think that's where it comes from.
Al tiempo que motiva al grupo a indagar en torno al legado de sus antepasados y explorar sus habilidades artísticas, Johan Falkman lleva a cabo una labor comunitaria que enriquece la vida de quienes colaboran con él. Esta posibilidad de interacción abre horizontes a otras realidades y aporta beneficios a la propia comunidad. Es en este contexto donde se hace patente la función del arte como escudo contra la violencia, sobre todo en áreas marginadas donde abusos y vicios, como el alcohol, las drogas o el crimen suelen persistir.
I do think that art, and whatever type of art it is, if it's music or literature or poetry or painting, I think that it does have a positive effect. And if people take part of art projects, for example, the models that I have here, many of them are Zulu dancers. And this is something that they have started with themselves. Nobody assigned that to them. And they have formed those groups themselves, and so they are artists. And yes, I think that what they're doing helps their communities to become stronger, because it infuses culture into their life, and it also forces them to search what are our ancestors, what would they do, what were they doing, what are our roots. That is why we're creating both plays and dances on these themes, so that the models are also interpreting the stories, and I do too. And I think when you're occupied by thinking about these things, like they must do when they work with this project, you don't have time to engage in anything negative as far as violence is concerned, or an overconsumption of alcohol, abuse. If it's drugs or if it's alcohol, I think is something that you engage in if you're unhappy or if you have nothing else to do. But if you're passionate about something, which you can be about art, then I definitely think it will distract you enough to stay away from negativity.
We combine the art with the dance, because those things are based or interested and talented. You know? So this is a lot what Johan Falkman did for us, because we didn't know that our dance can combine with the painting, can combine with the art. But he said, no, we must combine this. We must make this one. Maybe it's going to work. He said, no, you can go and rehearse. And then he used to give me some Bible, and I take the picture from the Bible, and then I do what they did on Bible, and then what they showed. And exactly.
I feel comfortable because I learn a lot from him. She learns us about to combine dance and painting, so yes.
We chose this because we just want to avoid ourselves to getting in the violence, because to drinking alcohol, we just want to avoid ourselves for doing that stuff, that like this. As this is the more benefit from the community, because here in the community there is no more danger and no more crime because we get ourselves involved in the dancing, so we don't do another thing that is from the side.
This project it's film, it's installations, it's painting, it's sculpture, it's also small miniature plays, you know. Right now I'm working on the theme of the mother with 7 sons. And that is a theme that I'm painting it, I'm sculpting it, and I'm also writing, if you want to call it poetry or texts, where the characters express themselves in different ways. And so it's definitely a multimedia project.
Nominados a los premios Ariel 2020. Jueves 23 de julio, 20 horas. Por Canal 22, el Canal Cultural de México.
A veces, el amor puede ser inocente.
Creo que soy malo porque hago cosas malas.
Otras, te ayudará a descubrirte y a perder el miedo de ser tú mismo.
Y no sé si te das cuenta, pero cuando estamos con los amigos te comportas demasiado afeminado. Llevo 10 años con él. ¿Y cuántos han valido la pena? He conocido a alguien. Quería contártelo, pero no sabía cómo.
Zona D presenta 4 lunas, sábado 23 horas.
Yo también me estoy enamorando de ti. Por nosotros.
En los textos del Antiguo y Nuevo Testamento, Johann Falkman descubre la resonancia que esas historias tienen con el mundo actual. El modo como podemos mirarnos en el espejo de otro tiempo para comprender el que vivimos hoy. Un mundo donde perviven la violencia, la crueldad y la injusticia.
Biblical stories, the reason why they're interesting and the reason why I want to work with them is because they are reflections of ourselves. They were reflections of people several thousand years ago, and they still reflect us. Man hasn't changed. We're the same. The conflicts during the biblical times are the same today. So we are still exposed to ultra-violence. We still inflict ultra-violence on others. And that is what the world looks like. I mean, just take a look at the news. That is what we are constantly fed with.
¿Qué es la dignidad? ¿Qué nos dignifica? De aquí parte el trabajo que realiza el artista. Bajo estos preceptos, Johann Falkman configura una propuesta que se enmarca dentro del plan estratégico de Star for Life. Y lo hace no solo a través del imaginario artístico, sino interpretando historias que invitan a una reflexión en torno a los retos que la vida impone al ser humano.
I was working together with Jennifer Clement down here when I first started the project, and we went around to the villages and we were scouting for models. And Jennifer's work is also about dignification, you know, how to elevate people. And as an artist, you don't always know what it is, what you have done or what you are doing. You have a feeling inside of yourself, and you're not sure what that is. And so I was thinking about what should we call this. I asked Jennifer, what is the title? And I said, what dignifies us? And that's what I felt that these stories are doing to people when you play these characters. You're forced to look inside. You're forced to become somebody. All the characters in the Bible are people who are searching. They are humiliated. They are exposed to the most horrible things you can imagine. They're spat upon. Very often they're prostitutes or whatever was at that time considered the worst you could be. And then they go from that and they become heroes. The journey of the hero is designed to dignify a person, to give you worth, to give you strength, to make you a worthy character. And so these characters that we are working with, they are also heroes. Very often it starts off with a tragic incident, and then there's a long journey that ends with, you know, the person being elevated. So it becomes a life journey to achieve your goal, to achieve your dream. And I think that very often that the biblical stories are also about that. Basically, all of them, that's what it's about. It's to infuse dignity inside of people after having been allowed to realize your visions or your dreams. You can't walk away from the problems. You must deal with them. Like the biblical characters, for example, they're dealing with the problems they are confronted with. Nobody saves them from the problems. They save themselves from the problems. And I think it's a metaphor also for ourselves, taken to the most extreme. Because even though we're not necessarily killing each other, we are constantly confronting each other in various ways, in various degrees of how can you say, conflict. And so I believe that in that way, these paintings are definitely applicable to society. They're political, they're absolutely political. I consider myself I'm a political painter. I'm a political artist, absolutely. I'm not a religious person. This is not a religious project. This is not a project that advocates any specific belief. It tells the story of life, of man. That's what it does. And I think that the Bible is an excellent book in the way that it helps us understand ourselves.
Para Johann Falkman, la figura más representativa de la dignidad es Jesús, un hombre que tras experimentar el máximo sufrimiento renace en la gloria. Jesucristo se erige como el gran símbolo de la humanidad. Representa el viaje de héroe que, tras la caída, asciende con la máxima nobleza.
It's the ultimate story of the hero's journey. Down as steep as you can sink into hell or the kingdom of death. And then when he's rising after death up to heaven, the glorification and sitting on the lap of God, reaching his true self, after the humiliation of being crucified and being tortured, etc., and spat upon, then becoming the Son of God that he knows inside that he is. And I think that is the ultimate story of man and women, men and women. That's us. And that is why I'm using, for example, Sabello here as Christ. I've written a monologue for him where he confronts us directly with different aspects of our personality in the shape of Christ, And that is an example of how I develop these different characters, but based upon our inside yearning for dignification,
You want to interrogate me? About what? I am prepared to die rather than give up myself. Here is my tongue. Cut it out. Here are my eyes. Let the birds have them. Take my hands. Take my feet. Cut them off. I will have them back. I'm not afraid of your hatred. It is my lot in life to be hated. Humiliation is my destiny. So, I will gladly die to for once in my life become free.
Sudáfrica ha sido también un país de tensiones, un país desmembrado, víctima de conquistas que derivaron en la segregación racial. El país del apartheid, narrado en novelas de 2 premios Nobel, John Maxwell Coetzee y Nadine Gordimer. Esta situación prevaleció hasta los años 90, cuando Nelson Mandela asumió la presidencia en 1994. En su discurso de investidura, el líder llamó a su pueblo a despertar. Ha llegado el momento de curar las heridas, el momento de salvar los abismos que nos dividen. Nos ha llegado el momento de construir. Nos comprometemos a liberar a todo nuestro pueblo del persistente cautiverio de la pobreza, las privaciones, el sufrimiento, la discriminación. Hemos triunfado, dijo, en nuestro intento de implantar esperanza en el seno de millones de los nuestros. Contraemos el compromiso de construir una sociedad en la que todos los sudafricanos, tanto negros como blancos, puedan caminar con la cabeza en alto.
Nelson Mandela is one of the biggest icons we have in our time. And we have the privilege of meeting him. Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful tool to change the world. And that's true, because education is such a powerful way to working with the young generation. So we met him. He was very much appreciative of what we were doing in Star for Life. So we think what we have done is part of his bigger thinking, because without him, we would probably have a civil war here in South Africa. And he saw the need for education and so on. So he is inspiration.
Preso durante 27 años y víctima de una condena a muerte, Nelson Mandela pasó 2 décadas confinado en una celda en la prisión de la isla Robben, muy cerca de Ciudad del Cabo. Una vez libre y líder de la nación, Madiba no optó por la venganza, sino por la reconciliación como única vía para construir una sociedad libre. Que haya justicia para todos, reiteraba. Que haya paz para todos. Que haya trabajo, pan, agua y sal para todos. Que cada uno de nosotros sepa que todo cuerpo, toda mente y toda alma han sido liberados. Nunca, nunca jamás volverá a suceder que esta hermosa tierra experimente de nuevo la opresión de los unos sobre los otros, ni que sufra la humillación de ser la escoria del mundo. Que impere la libertad.
He was preaching reconciliation between the whites and the black, tolerance. And I think we need more tolerance in the world today. He walked that road. Not revenge and fighting and so on. We see too much of that in the world today. The big walls to separate people. I mean, we should connect with the people, have tolerance, educate the young generation, live a healthy life. That's a much better road. His book, his famous book, the heading is The Long Road to Freedom.
Yes.
And I was talking, the long, he was also working long term. He couldn't change that system in 1 year, but he could change it in a lifetime. And I think we as humans, we need to work long term for the good causes, because then we could make a change. And the first time I met him, my impression was that this man, he's so strong, so no one could suppress him. I mean, you feel that when you talk to him. But he's also so charming and gentle with this big smile. So he charms everybody. So he has both sides, both the strong side and the charming side. And that was a big asset for him, being such a strong leader. And therefore, people listened to him, and they could trust his words. There is changes. I mean, we came here 2001, and there was a lot of big hope when Mandela took over and so on. But there are also a lot of traditions since hundreds of years. But I think South Africa is better off today because of this. But you could also feel some disappointment.
Libres al fin, diría Mandela recordando a Martin Luther King en su discurso. Yo tuve un sueño. El sueño perdura. Se construye día con día en esta, la tierra del arco iris y los 1000 paisajes. Ahí donde plantaron pie Bartolomé Díaz y Vasco de Gama en el siglo XV. el punto más extremo al suroeste, tendido hacia el Atlántico, el Cabo de Buena Esperanza. Sudáfrica, el territorio donde la civilización y la vida salvaje se funden, el imperio de León.
You need to see something in the future, because what you're doing day to day is a continuous work, and that gets much more easier if you want to achieve something in your future, because what you do in a single day gets part of a bigger dream, and that helps us. So I think it's a general lesson for the human being.
Ser estrella para la vida adquiere todo su significado en la tierra KwaZulu natal. Zulu es el cielo. En el escudo de armas de la tribu, vemos al león y al ñu flanqueando a una estrella. Los Zulus, según su mitología, vienen del cielo. Son seres estrella.
My joy was taken away. Who's gonna love me now? Who's gonna see me?